In this video, we are going to take a look at the history brush tools. And these tools will allow us to restore an image to a previous state in the history. So this will be a good chance to kind of look at some of the history options and see how we can do that. So first go down to the history brush tools. They're right underneath the stamp tools. And if you hold that down, you'll see the shortcut is the letter Y. And we have the history brush tool and the art history brush tool. Both of these tools pretty much do the same thing, except the art history brush is going to give you some stylized strokes whenever you use it to make your image look more like you've painted on it. So we'll take a look at how that looks here in just a moment. But let's start with the history brush tool. So we'll go ahead and select that. And there's the basic brush options at the top so that you can see you can change this to any style of brush that you would like. You can open up the brush options, you can change the blending mode, the opacity, and then all the settings for the tablet. So the first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and open up the history panel. So if I click on this icon over here, you'll see that we have a history panel, or you can go to Window, History, if that's not there for you. And we can see that we opened up this document. So that was the first action that we had, is we opened this up and then I saved it out as a .psd file. Now we need to make an action that we will restore to later on. So let's go to the top and just click on Image, go down to Adjustments, and then click on Desaturate at the bottom. You can see the shortcut is Shift-Control-U or Shift-Command-U on macOS. We'll click on that, and we can see when we do an action like that in Photoshop, it adds it to our history. And this allows us to go back and forth in the history. So I'm hitting the shortcut key Control-Z or Command-Z. And it's allowing me to undo and redo the last actions. I can also step backwards and step forward by using either Edit, Step Forward, and Step Backwards, or the shortcut keys Shift-Control-Z or Shift-Command-Z to step forward, or Alt-Control-Z or Option-Command-Z macOS to step backwards. So the history panel gives us a chance to go backward and forward in time. And with the history brushes, we can paint part of a previous history. So if I click on Open, Save As, I go back to that point in the image, which was the first thing that happened. If I click on Desaturate in the history panel, now you can see that I'm on that point of the history. But we can use the history brush to paint a previous part of an image. And to do that, I just click on, you can see there's actually a history brush icon here, and I can click on the open, the first thing that happens, while viewing the last thing that happened, which was a desaturate. So we have desaturate clicked and we're viewing it, but we are going to paint the part that was open, or the first thing, which is basically nothing. Nothing has happened to the image. It's just that nice colorful image. So we make sure that we have the history brush selected. You can choose any brush you want. You can make it bigger or smaller. So I'll make this a little bigger. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a brush, and when I use that brush, what it's doing is it's drawing the information from the first file we opened, which is the color information, while viewing the last thing. So what's going to happen is it's going to allow me to colorize this photo. So once I start clicking and using this brush, let's say in this bubble, it's actually coloring the part that happened in the photo that we have highlighted, which was just a colored photo, nothing special going on there. And so, as you can see at the top, we are giving a new selection, the history brush, and we are viewing this, but we're still able to paint the first thing that happened, which was that color photo. So this is giving the ability to go back in time and paint on something previously that happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo that, and let's go ahead and click on this options at the top and go to clear history. It's going to clear everything out, so we're just back to our original image. We haven't made any steps because there's nothing in the history panel, and it's as if we just opened up this document. So this time what we'll do is maybe we will make a couple different changes. So let's go to Image Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. We'll colorize the document, so we'll give it a maybe like a cool red color, and then we'll hit OK. And then let's do something else. Let's adjust the brightness and contrast here. So maybe something like that. And we'll hit OK. And then this time, let's say, well, maybe we don't like that red. We're going to desaturate this. So go and desaturate again. It's going to turn it black and white. So it works the same way. It doesn't matter how many things you have in the history panel. We're viewing desaturate, but we can go back and bring back the part of the image that we want to see. Now, all of those things have been applied, so we still have the brightness and contrast applied, but maybe we wanted to bring back just that red. I can click on the history brush to where we change the hue and saturation to red, and then color, and you will see that it colors the image in that red because we're painting the part of the history that we have selected. So even though we desaturated the whole image, we're painting back the hue and saturation where it colored it red, and then it's keeping the rest of the brightness and contrast for us. So it doesn't matter how many things you have in the history panel, you can always go back and paint. Another thing that you can do is you can save out snapshots of your document that you're working on and call those back later, and you can use those to paint also. So I can click on the hue and saturation and say take snapshot, and what it does is it adds a new history snapshot at the top. That's just what they're called, and we can rename that. We'll just call that red hue. And then we can also go and grab any of these other ones. So we'll take another snapshot. We'll call this brightness, contrast, because that's what we did. And then we can take a snapshot here and call this desaturate. Now, if we clear out our history, it removes the actual history, but we still have the snapshots that we took of this document. So it's starting with the last thing we did, which was what we had selected here. So let's actually go to bubbles. We'll clear history. Okay. Yeah, so I guess because we had brightness and contrast selected, it kept that one in the history panel. We can't delete them all out. Let's see if we can do this. So we can manually delete that out there, and then we still have the snapshot. So even our history is removed as if we just opened up a document and there's no history to go back and forward with. It kept the snapshots of everything that we did, and we can paint with these also. So I can go to go to any one of these and then bring back anything that I select to paint with. So we'll go to the original image and I can still use that. So you can use the actual history itself, or you can use the snapshots that you've taken. So we can undo that. Now the other tool is the art history brush. It's going to work the same way. So exactly like the history brush. The only difference here is you're getting some stylized strokes, like as if you were painting an image. So at the top you can see we have our brush selected, blending mode normal, opacity 100%, all the options for our tablet, and then the style that we want to use. So you can change this to whatever you like. I chose dab, and then the area and the tolerance. And then what happens here is as I paint, it's pulling in colored information strokes of this image to make these paint marks. So let's undo this real quick. Let's make a smaller brush. And you can see that, she, in this original image, if I click on it, you can see she has red lips and this, skin tone, and then a red bubbles holder that she has, and then some color information from the bubble. So as I begin painting, like if we start on the lips, you can see that it keeps that color information. And because I made a smaller brush, it's a little easier to see here. It keeps that color information, but it's giving us some really stylized strokes that we can use to paint our image or make our image have these very artistic effects. And then what's great about this is that you can actually do all kinds of different brushes. Because it's a brush tool, you have options for all of those brushes. Let's go ahead and remove this real quick. So for instance, we can change our brush style. We can pick one of the more stylized brushes or thinner brushes to work with if we want to. We can change the blending mode. We can change the style that we're actually painting. So if you do these curls, let's make it a little bigger here. It actually spins kind of in a circle. Let me go back to the other brush because this one's not showing this well. It makes this spinning effect. The dab is going to give you those dabs. That's the one that I was using. We also have the tight short and the tight mediums, kind of just another way of dabbing, but you can see that it's more sporadic, where the dabs are actual dots that just build up on each other. And all we're doing is we're looking at the last thing that happened to desaturate, but I'm coloring from the bubbles. We could color from the red channel if we wanted to, so we could select that, and it'll color the information, but based on that red snapshot that we had. So we'll look at this, and we'll leave on tight short, and then let's pick a different type of brush just to look at that here. So we'll pick the leaves that we've looked at. So you can do that same color information, but here it's building up leaves as its brush. So you have all kinds of really cool things that you can do as far as the different brushes you can use and the styles, the way that you lay down the paint information. All of these history brushes are just basically allowing you to pull a part of the history that you used before to make adjustments to your image.